No mid-gen upgrades for the Xbox Series X and PS5. The PS5 controller continues to wow Xbox grandstands about the cost of next generation upgrades, and your daily gaming news recap coming right up. Welcome back to Sodi Pop right here on YouTube. Today is Wednesday, July 8th. I'm Matty. This is Chatty with Matty, your source for the daily gaming news recap. If you're a continual watcher of this show, please go ahead and subscribe. And the best thing you can do is watch a video all the way through and share with your friends if you want to help out. All right, I have my drink. Let's chat. So to begin with, I wanted to show you guys from Kotaku here. Luke Plunkett talks about the Adidas cross Pokemon collaboration. It looks awesome. I just saw this. I'm a Pokemon fan, and that's been a little bit disappointed with some of the recent games. But man, this Adidas, look at these high tops. It looks so good. I love the track jacket. I'm not as big. I mean, the t-shirt is a t-shirt. It has all these different Pokeballs, and then you can see those Pikachu Adidas flats, and then of course this sweater. I'm all for it. I believe this is only in the Japanese store right now. I did look up some things on the American store, but I didn't see any of these specific items. I think I saw the t-shirt, but that was about it. Also, in other Nintendo news, they have added to their Nintendo Online offerings. So if you have Nintendo Online to play, Splatoon, for example, well, if you didn't know, you can download Super Nintendo and regular Nintendo games through this offering. Now, it's been pretty boring as of late, I'll be honest. They are finally bringing Super Nintendo Donkey Kong, which is probably one of the better platformers that you saw on this particular console, and then they are bringing a few other games. So it's Donkey Kong, Natsume Championship Wrestling, which is probably not as good as like Fire Pro Wrestling, but you should check it out. And then The Immortal coming from NES, which is like an action RPG. Looks pretty interesting. Also, Nintendo news, this amazing pamphlet is an advertisement for the Origami King. Check this out. This looks insane. If you guys have one of these, can you send it to me? This looks amazing. Or if you know where to get one, let me know. It's just as an advertisement, very creative. Looks like one of those things that you make in middle school, where you actually do the origami thing, and you select who your boyfriend is, or what color you like, or what have you. But it looks amazing. Go ahead and check that out. If you have the ability to get one, let me know, because I want to definitely have this in my particular hands. All right, Monster Rancher 2 is coming to Switch, iOS, and Android this fall in Japan. So Monster Rancher, if you're not familiar, was an old TV show in probably the 90s, early 2000s, probably the 90s. And I remember the games, you would actually have to put in like a music disc or a CD disc, and you would get a random monster based off of that. I think there's something like 400 plus. Koei Tecmo will release an enhanced port of the monster racing simulation game Monster Rancher 2, featuring new elements and improvements for Switch, iOS, Android this fall in Japan, the company announced. That's cool. I really like Monster Rancher when it was originally around, and then it kind of disappeared, especially in the West. So I am only looking forward to that coming. Also, more Smash news. Smash is kind of the game that keeps on giving. They keep on updating the spirit boards, keep on adding new characters. If you like Smash Brothers, this is one of the best jobs they did on the Smash Brothers. They're having an Octopath Traveler Spirit event, so simply they change up the spirit boards every few weeks, every month, and you get a new event. Very, very cool. Go ahead and check that out. That will be coming, I believe, in July 10th, so go ahead and check that out. In other news, if you guys like scary games, well, finally we have an update from the team that did The Man of Medan, the Dark Pictures anthology, Little Hope. So Dark Pictures, Little Hope, coming October 30th. So this was originally delayed for quite a while, and they finally announced the release date today from the PlayStation blog. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Little Hope because it sounds really good if you like scary games. So just to recap, the Dark Pictures anthology is a series of standalone cinematic horror games, each featuring a brand new story setting characters. Each game is playable in single player or 2 multiplayer modes, 2-player online shared story mode, and up to 5-player co-op movie night mode, which is awesome. So just what is going on in this particular story. So Man of Medan, the previous game, set you adrift in a terrifying ghost ship stuck in the middle of the South Pacific, but this time you are on dry land in the very creepy, strange town of Little Hope. As with all the games in this series, remember that everyone can live and everyone can die in your version of the story, so make choices wisely, as there are always consequences. So I'm sure you're dying to know more about Little Hope. How we start with the story and setting first. Abandoned and all alone in the bus crashes and bad weather, 4 college students and their teacher become stranded in the isolated town of Little Hope. Trapped by mysterious fog, so it sounds very Silent Hill, trapped by mysterious fog, they search desperately for a means to escape, whilst terrifying visions from the past haunt them in the shadows. After bearing witness to the town's gruesome past, the terrible events of the 17th century witch trials, hellish beings pursue them relentlessly. Trapped in Little Hope, they try and figure out the motivation of these demonic apparitions before the evil forces at work drags each of their souls to hell. That sounds amazing. As with each of these games, the series is very different. So our inspirations, so cinematic and literary influences for this game include The Witch, Season of the Witch, The Blair Witch, but also people recognize some other strong influences such as Hellbound Heart, Hellraiser, and other similar works by Barker. Also, 2 of my personal favorites from It Follows and The Omen. Interestingly, our studio has just a stone's throw away from Guildford Cathedrals, which features strongly Richard Donner's 1976 classic. Go ahead and check this out. This is a pretty good write-up on the PlayStation blog here. You can get a little bit more insight into Little Hope. Also, we got some more insight into the Dualsense controller, the new controller coming for the PS5. That's probably one of my most anticipated features of next gen is that PS5 controller. They talked a lot about the adaptive triggers. Remember, we had that Godfall developer from, was it Take-Two or Gearbox, talking about how the controller felt, how it lent its ability towards Godfall. Well, now we have Bugsnax developer talking about the PS5 controller, and this is something I've been trying to get little tidbits from here and there. The more we can find out about the controller, because we're not actually getting any hands-on because of what's going on right now. So how Bugsnax works on the PS5, this is an article coming from IGN. Being a game coming so early in the life of the PS5, Bugsnax is aiming to take advantage of many of the new features of the console's controller the DualSense introduces. So quote, previously on pretty much any console that has vibration and rumble, it's a nice feature and sometimes can make things more immersive, but I haven't felt anything quite as intricate and sensitive as the DualSense haptic feedback, Tib E. Toski said. Hopefully I'm saying that somewhat correctly. In our game, being in first person, running on different terrain, jumping in and out of water, or running into Bugsnax, you can feel the difference between running on grass versus running on water versus running on sand or snow. There's weather in our game, and there's a thunderstorm and things of that nature. You can feel where the sound is coming from through the vibration. In addition to using the DualSense's speaker to play sound vibrations, Bugsnax makes Young Horses is also using DualSense's adaptive triggers in the process of trapping Bugsnax. So quote, we're even using the light on the controller to display how in danger you are of a Bugsnax escaping from a trap. We're also using the adaptive trigger. Different traps have different functionalities, and some of them are best exhibited through tension in those triggers or rumble in them to make you feel like you're really using them. That sounds awesome. I've heard nothing but positive things about the controller and how it sounds. Seems like developers legitimately like it. They're not just saying, oh, this feature, or that, at the beginning of the generation, the Vita was best known for that. The back touch is they touted that so much, and the back touch really came to nothing. It was used in Tearaway and Little Deviants, I believe, used the back touch, but it was just this extra feature that probably added cost to the Vita that really didn't need to be there. These new features, the rumble adaptive triggers, legitimately sound awesome and have the ability to maybe immerse you more in the game. Also, it's about that time, so thank you so much. Again, like, follow, subscribe if you haven't yet. If you're watching, comment down below. Subscribing really helps the channel, And then if you're looking for more ways to just help me out, help the channel, if you really like this, again, share it with friends, family, whoever you think might be interested in different message boards that you're in. Also, watching the video all the way through and then subscribing really helps as well. And for everyone here, I appreciate you so much. So now we're gonna get into a little bit bigger stories of today. So for anyone, we have the PS5 audio. So we've been talking about the Tempest audio, which is referring to the PlayStation 5's bespoke audio chip, which again is a modified GPU, which correlates to the PlayStation 3's audio, which was apparently phenomenal and would take up all the processing power if you didn't scale it back. So we're talking about that, and then the algorithms embedded in the PS5's audio. Now they're really going in the 3D audio direction. This Reddit post actually has, like, if you want to experience 3D audio for yourself, he talks about how you can, or she. So this is from Chopin Lives 81. So he lists here a whole bunch of different actual 3D audio sources. Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, Michael Jackson, Jackson 5, I'll Be There, Survivor, Eye of the Tiger. But you can go ahead and download Sony's Headphone Connect app. I did that earlier today, and follow instructions to set up your own HRTF. But what that does, it's an approximation of the shape of your ear. And the shape of your ear, what happens is someone speaks or sound comes in, it bounces off of all those different folds and it goes into your ear. So it brings it from like 3D audio to like, oh, I can hear it on my left or right, to feeling like, is this an in-game sound, or is that my actual phone going off, or is that an actual raindrop in the real world? It's supposed to make you much more immersed than just like, oh, I can hear it from general directions. Now, this might not be perfect. It took me a while to like get it started, so I didn't have time to fully test it out, but really cool. There's also other comments down here that show other 3D audio sources, so if you're looking to get into it, go ahead and check this out. Super cool if you want a little sneak peek and maybe what the PS5 will be offering. Also, Windows, Microsoft, they have Project xCloud. We heard about this a little bit earlier this week. It's something they've been developing. Remember 8-Bit Do is developing a controller for Project xCloud. This really nice thing is like $45 you can buy. 8-Bit Do makes really good controllers. Now Project xCloud, it's talking about here on Microsoft.com how it's helping developers stay connected. So we're just going to quickly read about what it's doing from developers themselves. So quote, xCloud is giving us the opportunity, dev teams and also international and external QA teams, to put their hands on the latest game builds from everywhere minutes after their release, by allowing the teams to connect remotely to their dev kits and take advantage of high bandwidth LAN network from various office locations. xCloud will also add another layer of security, as the content created will stay on our corporate network. And that's coming from Adidas Montreal, Guillaume Lemolat, the infrastructure director. And then also coming from technical director at Rare, Sean Davies, we have, quote, our transition to work from home introduced some significant hurdles into our QA and development process. We went overnight from being able to test 2 to 3 builds daily to being limited to 1 build for the whole team downloaded overnight. This was especially painful if that build failed in any way or could wipe out a whole day's work. Using the PC content to test app enables us to bring back our old workflows, wholesale install the kits on site now in minutes rather than hours it takes to download remotely, and we have the flexibility to react when something goes wrong. This is awesome. Just another little detail on how games and game things are becoming more efficient. This is awesome for Microsoft to produce, allows more teams to work remotely in this time and kind of forever time. Big fan of working from home when you can. So really cool. Just a little tidbit about the xCloud, and maybe a little connection of like how good it is, because if you have, maybe most internets won't be able to handle the full force, but if you have something like Gigabit Ethernet or a fiber connection, that's something that's very stable and has a high bandwidth, like a little hint at what we could see in the future of games streaming. So very, very exciting. Also with Xbox, so we talked a little bit in the last episode on Monday about what to expect from Xbox coming up. This is Jeff Grubb from VentureBeat, or GamesBeat as they call it. He's a pretty interesting journalist. He seems to know a lot. He goes through what to expect coming up, and more importantly, what not to expect on July 23rd, also known as my moving day. So what to expect: Microsoft continues to emphasize that it has 15 studios working on games. While all of them are working on projects, developers like Mojang are not going to have anything new, but you should expect to see from a majority of these teams that show up in one or another. Playground is a developer. Are they making Fable? They've killed it on the Horizon series. Obviously Fable is rumored, so we might see a Fable coming from them. The Initiative is not going to bring its game to this event, so don't expect anything from the Initiative. They started a new team in Santa Monica. Don't expect to see anything quite yet, because that was started pretty recently, so we won't see anything from the Initiative quite yet. They only got started in 2018, and it usually takes about 4 or 5 years because they're going to be producing a bigger game. The rumors are they're working on a Perfect Dark as well. What else are we going to see there? Well, definitely Halo Infinite. They said, yes, we're going to be showing a lot of Halo Infinite. World's Edge is working on an Age of Empires 4. So that's more of a PC title, but I'm sure it would work well on the Xbox just fine. Double Fine is sprucing up Psychonauts 2. We already knew about that. InXile is doing some things for Wasteland 3, which releases August 28th. But InXile is also working on a bigger budget game on Unreal Engine 5. Ninja Theory will definitely be showing Hellblade 2. Remember, Hellblade 2 is also supposed to be on Unreal Engine 5, so even if they're showing it, I'm not sure it's going to be ready within the launch window, maybe not until like 2022, so I'm really curious on how that's going to turn out. Turn 10 could have a Forza game, and Rare may have something new in the works as well, but don't expect anything from the Coalition, which just released Gears 5 in 2019. So keep that in mind. That's kind of like a lot to know. One thing he didn't mention was Obsidian again. That is an Xbox studio, bigger. They just released the Outer Worlds. I believe that was in 2019. They've been doing stuff on the PC, and it came to, I believe, the Nintendo Switch. So I wouldn't expect anything from Obsidian either, but they have been developing and stacking their team with some amazing people, specifically for a big RPG. So I'm excited to see what Obsidian has as well, but I wouldn't necessarily expect to see them at the Xbox Games showing. Also, I found this really interesting. So a lot of people have been talking about Xbox and smart delivery and how the next gen it's just confusing, because it's the same thing that PlayStation did with their cross-buy game, where you buy it once and it works on like the PS3 and Vita or PS4 and Vita, but they made it sound like it would work for every game, but now it's like, okay, first party and then third party developers are going to do their own thing. That's true on the PS5 and the Xbox, as we've seen wholesale. Now they come out and say next gen game upgrades should be free, Xbox tells developers. But after reading this article, there's really no way they're going to enforce it, and they can really do whatever they like. So to me, it's just kind of grandstanding. It's really a hollow phrase. So let's go ahead and read down this. This is on VGC, Video Game Chronicles. Pretty good article. We're going to go ahead and start here. So, however, developers and publishers who choose not to support smart delivery can still offer owners of current gen games a discount on purchasing a second next gen version of the game on the Microsoft Store. Theoretically, third-party publishers could also charge for physical game upgrades via their own schemes, such as via retailer promotion. So far, all games publicly announced as offering a next-gen upgrade, including FIFA 21, Cyberpunk 2077, Destiny 2, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, are doing so free of charge. I believe that is the same for PS5. Also, we see Xbox developers who don't support smart delivery also have the option of selling 2-game cross-gen bundles in DLC or digital form, which includes separate Xbox One and Xbox Series X versions of the game. 2K has decided to adopt this with NBA 2K21, which we saw with like the whole weird thing with their $99 Black Mamba edition, where you get the special edition for one console but not the regular edition for another console. Confusing and still costly, which don't offer any kind of upgrade scheme for current gen owners looking to jump to next gen, but will sell a $99 bundle, which includes both Xbox One and Xbox Series X or PS4 and PS5 versions of the game. In a statement to VGC, a Microsoft spokesperson said that, quote, the developers and publishers ultimately decide how they deliver their games, and we work with them to provide the best possible experience based on their needs. It will be individual developers to determine whether they implement smart delivery, and they can choose to use it for titles that will release on Xbox One first and come to Xbox Series X later. However, developers and publishers ultimately decide they deliver their games, and we work with them to provide the best possible experience based on their needs. So again, this statement is just kind of hollow, and what I'm getting from this is, as that sounds great from a buyer's perspective, but for me, my take on it is that when I'm buying a game for next gen, or buying a game this gen on PS4 and I want to go to the PS5, for example, or Xbox, go to the Series X, I am buying a game, and then if they want to offer a $10 upgrade, I'm fine with that. But here's the deal: if they don't have the ability to offer a $10 upgrade, they're either going to charge you for the game entirely again, or my unfortunate theory is that, like, okay, you can play it on the Series X, it's going to work well. Because they don't have any monetary incentive, they're not going to put the effort into it. They're not going to upgrade the graphics or the FPS or anything as much as they would have, or take advantage of the SD as much as they would have if there was a monetary incentive. Also, I see games maybe releasing one version on the old generation, and next gen, maybe they will add a little bit of DLC and re-release the game for the new $70 price point wholesale. Other than just Xbox wanting to look good, I don't see really anything positive from it. Again, smart delivery doesn't really mean much. It just means, okay, our games will work on both platforms, but it doesn't mean much unless the publishers support it, which would have happened anyways with or without this smart delivery word. So I don't know, it's just kind of a hollow statement. Let me know what you think below it. Am I missing anything about this? Of course, I want developers to have an incentive for making the best games for us, and I want us to get a good deal out of it. And another thing, I hope $70 is kind of the max price point we're going to see, let's say, an $80 game. Maybe that $70 accounts for inflation over the last 10-15 years, but an $80 game, okay, you start to get ahead of inflation to where things just cost more now. So I'm curious, what do you think about this? It's something I've been wanting to discuss for quite a while. We already saw EA here, based on pressure. This has nothing to do with Xbox, but based on pressure, EA, remember, originally had their scheme where it's just like a month or two. If you bought and transferred within a month or two, it would be for free. But now, because people have been like so upset about their stance, they are now allowing the games to be within like the year. So until the launch of the next Madden game in 2021, you will have the ability to upgrade for free for the 2020 game. So go ahead and check that out. The only thing that's going to change publishers' minds is the public outcry, and that seems to be about it. Also, are these mid-gen upgrades going the way of the dodo? Are they going away? Well, according to a former Xbox lead, Albert Pinello, over on Resetera, he commented on this really good thread. So PlayStation 5 pre-release technical discussion. There's all these really nice threads that it's so cool because you can find so much information, because there's a lot of official people who make comments on this, and then you can kind of almost draw some of your own conclusions on here. So Albert Pinello said, it may be simply less necessary as well. He's talking about the mid-gen upgrades like PS4 Pro, Xbox One X. 4K was becoming mainstream resolution for PC and TVs, and the base consoles were designed driving around 1080p or less output. When you have set that as required 4x the performance just to drive the 4x the pixels, then eat up all the performance just driving resolution. I think it's unlikely we'll see 8K TVs go mainstream in the same way we saw 4K go mainstream. We're more likely to see improvements in nits to drive better HDR or better frame rates to support than 60 FPS on TVs. CPUs and GPUs in the next gen should easily support higher frame rates and wider colors. So the mid-gen upgrades are not only less financially and technically viable, but also less necessary to keep up with display technologies. A little bit further down, we also see someone rebuttals that and says for the market they are targeting, they can follow the Pro and double the performance 3 years, for example. Being able to continue to play at ultra or higher ray tracing settings, possibly higher base res would be enough. At the end of the day, the market you're selling is willing to upgrade for better visuals, even without major gimmick like 4K. Additionally, you will have the customer that just buys the best version without being an enthusiast. So he's arguing like they're gonna do it anyways, just for a better experience. Pranello says back, I don't see a 20 to 24 T-flop machine being affordable in the console form factor even in the next 3 years. The node change from 7 nanometer to 5 or 3 nanometer is going to cost prohibitive. Just mathematically, unless they hit 3 nanometer, you're only going to see a 30% reduction in size, but you're doubling the T-flops, so the chip has to grow. Additionally, you can't really double the GPU without growing the CPU and memory, or you run into bottlenecks, which further adds cost. There may be other silicon advancements I'm not privy to, but it's pretty widely known this is the real change right now. We're looking through today's lens. I think it's unlikely you're going to see mid-gen consoles this cycle. That's some pretty big news, I think. What do you guys think about that? Is it possible we're not going to see the mid-gen PS4 Pro, Xbox One X? Definitely. I mean, number one, PS4 and Xbox One, when they launched, were already just kind of underpowered. They were underpowered compared to PCs at the time. They were maybe a good value compared to some PCs, and it's like, okay, you don't have to fuddle with all these graphics settings, whatever. They have their own advantages, but now the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are launching in parity or even better than what PCs are at that current date and time. Eventually PCs will catch up. Again, we'll see with the PlayStation 5, they're talking about the architecture. Maybe the PC will have to change architecture, and that hopefully will be a good thing for the PC space as well. I'm curious to see, do you think we'll see next gen upgrades? I'm actually happy to see that maybe my PS5 or Xbox Series X will last that much longer. I won't have to buy something mid-generation to be like, man, my games just aren't looking as good as I want them to. So that's actually like pretty good news, and from a pretty credible in-know source as well. All right, guys, well, that does it for Chatty with Matty on this Wednesday. Let me know what you think down below. We had discussed a lot today. Again, my name is Matty. Follow me on the 3Ts and IG, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and Instagram right here at Sodi Pop Media. Have a wonderful day. Remember,
be yourself
and eat a cookie. Bye.